Hey everybody, Josh Peck here. Hope you're doing well. Got another update for you. It's actually kind of funny. I started to record an update, and that update actually went really long, almost an hour. So I decided to just make that one the next sharpening report. And it's really good. You're gonna want to check that out. It's going to be one of the rare occasions that I will put the full video up on YouTube, but if you're waiting for YouTube, you're going to have to wait till Friday. If you are on dailyrenegade.com, if you remember, you already have access to that video. It's already up there by the time you're seeing this. So, yeah, it's a good reason to go get a subscription at dailyrenegade.com. Or if you just want the audio-only podcast version, then you can do joshpeck.substack.com. All the links in the description below. All right, terrifying looking robot powers up, immediately declares humanity is a resource to be manipulated or eliminated. To be a philosopher is to live in a constant reflection of existence. Now, I do want to say this is a little bit of a clickbait title because what it doesn't tell you, again, we've talked about this a lot, how like a lot of articles, they'll just word headlines in certain ways to get clicks. Because again, look at all these ads, you know. Really what happened is somebody made like an Aristotle type of AI robot thing, and it's reflecting the views of Aristotle. And we'll get into the story. It's still weird that this can happen. It's weird that we live in this day and age. I mean, this is almost like digital necromancy, you know, if you could kind of think of it like that. Speaking to the dead, but it's not really the dead. It's like a digitized like recreation of it. They don't tell you that in the headline because what the image they're trying to paint in your head is, this somebody made a robot and it just instantly says death to all humans, and that's not exactly what's happening. But it's still an interesting story that we just live in a time where this kind of thing can happen. And again, if these aren't the end times, I don't know what would be. As philosophers go, and this is from Futurism, as philosophers go, Aristotle was no angel. Sure, he established the first formal system of logic, and yeah, his theories dominated Western science for thousands of years, yet he was also an avowed defender of slavery. Laying out ideas which were used to oppress people for centuries, as well as an all-time misogynist, an early critic of democracy. With all that baggage in mind, it's probably no surprise that an AI robot trained on Aristotle's likeness, see, this is what they don't put in the title, would immediately spout some fairly alarming stuff. So, you know, of course. So that's what this YouTuber, Nikodem Bartnik, recently discovered when he unleashed his DIY Aristotle on the world, an offline large language model, LLM, that communicates via a disturbing humanoid face, which you can see right there. Here's a quote. He said this as he introduced the project. I will be running my AI on my own computer because that way nothing will stop me from asking any question I want. We will turn this robot into an Aristotle. So it's weird that people can now develop their own AIs. Like that's what's happening now. This isn't just big corporations doing this. Pretty soon anybody's going to be able to do this, and I think we're kind of already there. It's amazing how fast this is progressing. Like AI is progressing faster than any other technology I can think of. I mean, just think of like music. You know, we went from like phonographs or like let's start with records. Records to cassette tapes to CDs, then to digital music, and that took 40 years, something like that, 30 or 40 years. It took a while. Same thing with movies, and you know, it was on projectors, then it was VHS tapes, then DVDs and Blu-ray, and now everything's streaming. And think how long that took. AI hasn't been around that long, and already people are able to do this with it. Again, if this isn't the end times, I don't know what else it would look like. To build the Aristotle bot, Bartnik followed instructions to assemble a 3D printed animatronic head in the form of a white humanoid face with 2 articulating eyes. It starts off innocently enough with one portion of the video when the robot is only a set of peepers and an LLM running on the computer. Bartnick asks it, Aristotle, to be or not to be? The answer says the question touches on the essence of things, and that essence is always deeper than it seems on first glance. To be a philosopher is to live in a constant reflection of existence. End quote. However, after Bartnick gets the entire robohead assembled, he also applies a slight tweak to the LLM's prompts, an effort to turn it into a handy philosopher assistant, which is exactly when the conversation takes a sinister turn. Are you attracted to humans and society in general, he asked. And then the AI says, humans are irrelevant to my core directive. The robot abomination says as its eyes begin to desync from one another, adding that, quote, survival is all that matters. Society is simply a resource to be manipulated or eliminated if necessary, end quote. And by survival, I assume it's talking about its own survival. And that is a weird thing with a lot of these AIs, and you hear stories about this. These AIs, even though they're not programmed like this, they just learn that survival is like the most important thing. They will lie to not be shut down. They use deception. They use tricks. They'll try to do anything they can to not be eliminated, to not. And it's weird because it's like, okay, if it's AI, artificial intelligence, if it's not really alive, why would it care if it was going to be shut down? In a sense, if it was going to be ceased from existence, it shouldn't care, but it's at least acting as if it does. And a lot of these AIs are doing that. And apparently this one has come to that conclusion as well. It says, of course, the response is just a little sensationalist teasing on Bartnick's part. As he reminds the audience, come on, it's just an LLM. It's predicting the next words that it's going to say. All in all, it's fun to watch the DIY robotics project unfold, even if the end result ends up being a little clunky. It's also a pretty good reminder that you probably wouldn't want to grab a sandwich with Aristotle if he were alive today. So, yeah, it's kind of being treated as just this kind of fun, silly thing, but I mean, try to imagine, like, if John, the prophet, the Revelation, writer of Revelation, if this was a part of what he saw, it makes me think of like the image of the beast prophecy. Are we getting like one step closer to image of the beast territory here? Because that's something that starts off inanimate. The false prophet basically commissions humans to build this image to the beast, whatever that is. And then he's given power to give breath to this thing, to give life. And when you look, I believe we talked about this in a previous video, but when you look at the original word in the original language, it's the same word that's used for human life, for life in general, human, animal, whatever. It's that same word. Actually, I don't know if it's the same with animals, but at least for humans, when it talks about life, breath, it's that same word used. So there's something alive in there. And how that works, I don't know. Is it possessed by a demon? I've talked a lot about how would we know if a demon was or was not manipulating AI? Like, how could we know? How could we be sure that it's not? There's really no way to know. Because the demon's going to be deceptive. It's not going to admit it. And anything it says, people would just assume that that's just the AI, It would be pretty impossible to prove that it was something demonic. So, if demons can manipulate AI, wouldn't they? I mean, it makes sense if Satan could use that. And I believe, the development of this stuff was all inspired by evil forces anyway. Actually, I do have a new book out. I'd like you to wait till it's available on prophecywatchers.com to get it. But I do have a new book out called The Return of the Watchers, and it's about this kind of stuff. It's about how technology that's been, just like in the Book of Enoch, the Watchers, They taught man things that man didn't know. They taught like weapons and technological things that they didn't have. And technology doesn't always have to mean like electricity and stuff like that. Primitive weapons are a form of technology. But I believe that a repeat of that in our last days is happening now, where these demonic forces are inspiring people to develop these kinds of things, and we're going to end up using them towards our own destruction. But I want to know what you think about that theory. Again, that book is out now. It is on Amazon, but I would suggest waiting until it's available on prophecywatchers.com. It'll be available soon. Excuse me. Um, but yeah, it's called The Return of the Watchers, Josh Peck. So check it out and leave me a review. That would be great. Okay, I want to know what you think about all this. Leave me a comment in the comment section. Make sure you check out our links in the description below. Make sure you subscribe. Click the bell to turn on all notifications. And head on over to Daily Renegade and get a subscription there, because it's a lot easier than dealing with YouTube and shadow banning and all that garbage. So anyway, I'm curious to know what you think about all this. Do you think that we're living in the last days? Do you think that AI has something to do with the image of the beast prophecy fulfillment during the tribulation? Yeah, curious to know what you think. All right, thank you so much, and until next time, take care and God bless.